Hi, I'm Caden Sinclair. So I thought a video might be really helpful in understanding Xanadu a little bit more and why Gardens of Xanadu is a good proposition for a grant. One of the things that I think would be helpful is kind of describing our space. I've done that a little bit in writing and some pictures, but to help understand the overall picture, we own the land and the building as Conclave LLC. That's myself and my partner. And we operate Gardens of Xanadu out of here to monetize the space for various things. Mostly it's rental space or classes. We create artworks out of here that sell. So it's a myriad of things kind of mushed together. And we've only recently, we bought the building back in 2014, and we've been running it sort of a community gathering space. And we've since, when we started Gardens of Xanadu, and I am the sole proprietor of Gardens of Xanadu, by the way, we are looking at monetizing the space more fully. So we're shifting into that, which is why we haven't shown a lot of revenue. But owning the land and having an enormous amount of equity in it does allow me to grow things pretty comprehensively. So a coffee shop is one of the things that I think would be very valuable here. We did run a coffee trailer for a while. It was very successful, but it's a trailer and there are some issues with trailers, drainage, all kinds of utility delivery, things like that. So a brick and mortar space added to our brick and mortar space, I think, is the next best step. We also have an enormous number of resources in terms of people and access to building materials and things like that to accomplish. We've done so multiple times. We have various buildings that we've built around the land, utilizing our community. So accomplishing this is actually pretty easy with the budget that I've set forth. Normally it would be more expensive, but I've got a very good grasp on what it would take to do that. So with 250 condos going in across the street, they're breaking ground in April. That's a unique neighborhood addition for people that are now going to be able to walk across the street to our fairly large lot and experience the things like the Biodome, which is a tropical garden, or utilizing our classroom spaces or classes that are going on for like yoga, movement studio, theater groups, welding, whatever it is. So I'm going to take you on a tour of Xanadu so you can kind of see the space that we're looking at putting the coffee shop in, and a little bit about the Biodome, because having a coffee shop adjacent to these spaces is the allure of why would you specifically come to this coffee shop. So with that said, I'd like to take you on a tour, and then at the end, I'll cover one more little thing about some intellectual property and how we have some stuff we can productize that'll allow us to move forward and make a little bit better revenue stream on some other aspects. So what you're looking at here is a picture of the front of the space I'm sitting in, which we refer to as the solarium. And where we would build is pretty much out from the building to where I'm standing, just to the left of the door, so that there's obviously not obstructing the door. And then this is kind of a video of around the solarium as you walk towards that space, and are able to see how we would build the coffee shop pretty much where that jasmine the sage and the lavender are and out. So it's a 20 by 12 foot space, possibly a little bit bigger, and it's mostly just a walk up type of thing. Here are the adjacent domes. I'm going to talk about the materials that those domes are made out of later for a monetization reason. But I wanted to take you inside of the bigger dome to kind of give you an idea of why this is a unique space and what would be the draw to come to a coffee shop, in addition to some other things that we're doing out of this Biodome to monetize it, because it's, for Boise, it's the only thing that's of its kind in this area. Certainly, and compared to other botanical gardens, it's nothing crazy, but it is something that we have here, and it is wholly owned by Gardens of Xanadu LLC, and is one of the assets without any sort of debt that is kind of nice. And we're just stepping through what people would experience as they walk around the space. You'll notice there are a number of orchids and bromeliads and tropical plants. Certainly we have some additional work to do to garden out the space, but overall it's a pretty amazing space, and it has a lot of potential for people to come into and utilize. So we are looking at starting our first massages in this space. There are some other body work things that are happening. And we also have some connection with the local education systems, so people can come in for tours, and we have some programs. So we're going to look at how to seek additional funding for all of those as well. And then the next thing is just a picture of the sculpture in the middle. This is opalescence. It is it's about 20 feet tall and is a beautiful aspect that people can enjoy. So back to this video. One of the things that's really interesting and I'm hoping we can monetize is the dome on the right, the large dome, is a kit dome that you can buy pretty much from a number of vendors, and specifically Pacific Domes out of Oregon. The material that covers that dome is a marine vinyl woven. It's fairly strong, but it's easy to cut, and as you can imagine, not terribly thermally conductive, and doesn't, allow for heating and cooling. So I came up with the dome on the left, which is a polycarbonate version. Now, polycarbonate is not a new material. Certainly the domes that are built out of it, which are wood, have been around for a while. But there isn't a product which a polycarbonate shell has been designed in such a way that it can fit on a metal structure. There are reasons for that, some of which are structural integrity, that you can't drill into the bars. And so I came up with a design that actually is fairly wind resistant, like really high winds, hurricane force winds, waterproof. There's a whole bunch of small details that aren't apparent in the video. And this is one of the things that we do here. And the reason I'm showing you this is because in addition to an artistic and creative space and a rental space, there is an aspect of ingenuity that comes out of here that I believe could be monetized. So I'm hoping to instill a little sense of why we're a good investment. So while a coffee shop isn't directly related to this dome project, it does allow us to bring in a revenue stream, which then allows us to productize, monetize, and hire for other aspects of Gardens of Xanadu, which is a myriad type of product company. Hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions, I look forward to speaking to you.